everyone, this is Molly from Lessons by Molly. Today I'm going to show you how to marble paint with a twist, and I'm also going to show you an unconventional method of marble painting. So to marble paint with the twist, you're going to need at least 3 different colors of tempera paint, some type of container to put the paint in, marbles and some other type of sphere, a tray to lay the paper in, white construction paper, use the 9 by 12, spoons or tongs to pull the marbles out. Now I'm using red, blue, and yellow tempera paint for this activity, and I'm also using a shallow tray. If you have younger children, you might want to use a tray that is deeper so the paint does not fall out and the marbles don't fall out. You could also use an aluminum pan like this. You could even use a circular pie pan. You would just need to cut the paper in the shape of a circle. I do want to mention that since this is using marbles, which can present a choking hazard for young children, this is not an activity that you would do with your students unsupervised. And in fact, you would need 100% supervision. So if you were using a parent volunteer, I would make sure that you got across to the volunteer that they need to stay with the children at all times. And then to add another safety layer, I would be talking with the children about marbles and that they're not supposed to go in their mouths. You might want to put your students' names on the backs of the papers before you stage the activity. That way you don't have to worry about finding out who did which piece of artwork later on. It's also helpful for your parent volunteer because they can just look at the back of the blank paper and know who to call next to the center and know who has done the activity and who would still like a chance to do it. So I'm going to put this paper on my tray right here, and I'm going to move my paints out of the tray. So I'm just going to put them right here to the right, but I will be demonstrating to you what I will do with those paints. So in the yellow cup, I'm going to drop just a regular marble, and I'm going to take my spoon and stir that marble around. If you have tongs, you can use tongs instead of spoons. With the blue paint, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drop a regular marble in, and I'm going to stir it around. With my red paint, this is where I'm going to have my twist. Now I could use a larger size marble, and I can see if that makes a difference in the artwork. But for this activity, I'm going to use a rubber ball. If you can find the balls that don't bounce, that would be better. So I'm going to drop the rubber ball in the red paint, and I'm going to stir it around. I'm going to instruct the students to take out just the marble and none of the other paint. So I'm going to start with the yellow, and I'm going to drop it right onto the paper. And then I'm going to roll it left and right and up and down, and I'm going to try to get paint on the paper. If I don't feel that it's enough, I can always drop the marble back into the yellow paint and do some more. Okay, so I'm going to do that for a while. I don't use much more than 3 different colors of paint because the children can get tired of the activity if you have a lot of different colors for them to use. So 3 or 4 is usually my maximum. All right, I think that's enough of the yellow, so I'm going to just take it out by hand, and I'm going to drop it back into the yellow paint. Now I'm going to work with the blue paint. And I'm going to pull the marble out. Again, just the marble and not all the paint. I want to take out as much as I can of the paint before I drop the marble on. if you use tongs, you'll probably have an easier time just separating the paint from the marble. Okay, I'm going to drop it on there. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll left to right and up to down, up and down. And I'm going to move that blue paint onto my paper. Okay, and now I'm going to just take it out by hand and drop it back into the blue paint. Okay, and now here's my twist. I'm going to use the large red ball, and I'm going to drop it onto the paper and see what happens here. And I'm going to roll my ball on there. And as you can see, the lines with the red are thicker than the lines that were made with the blue and yellow. And that would be a great learning experience for the children. You could talk about why the red lines on their marble painting activity are thicker. And you could talk about the spheres of the marble and the ball and which sphere is a larger one. That's the traditional method with a twist, and now I'm going to show you the unconventional method that I learned 30 years ago and absolutely loved it. I loved the next activity because for young children that do not have the coordination to move a tray from left and right, this method is a lot easier for them. It also gives them an experience of hearing and feeling the marbles rattling around. So I'm using a long cylinder food can. This can is the best that I have found for the activity. And then I'm using my regular white construction paper, but it will not fit exactly into the can. So I need to trim off about 1/3 of the paper. I'm putting the paper in the can long ways, so I'm trimming off on this side. Okay, we'll see if that's enough. If not, I'll trim it a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to curve my paper into a cylinder shape like this because it's going to go in long ways. I'm going to open the lid to my food can, and I'm going to slide the paper in, and I want that paper to line the can. Now, as you see, that paper is a little bit too tall, so I'll take it out and I'll trim off a little bit more. My ball is rolling around. Put it back in the red. All right, now this should be short enough now. So again, I'm going to curve my paper around into the shape of a cylinder. I'm going to slip it into the can, and I want it to line the can. Now I'm satisfied that that length, that height is going to fit the can. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to use my yellow paint, and I'm going to drop the marble. This is Tempera paint. I'm going to drop the marble into the can. I'm draining out all the extra paint and just drop it in where the paper is. And then put the lid back on. Now, it's very important that you make sure that they do it both upside down and right side up, because if you don't do it that way, it won't cover the paper. Okay? So I'm just shaking it around. And the children are absolutely going to love making the noise. And this is a lot easier for a young child than the tray method. Okay, so now I'm going to take the marble out, and I'm just going to roll it back into the yellow paint. And now I'm going to use the marble that was in the blue paint. I'm just going to stick it in. Put the lid on. Turn it upside down and start rattling it. Okay, I'm going to take it out. I'm just going to roll it right back into the blue paint. And now I'm going to do my red. I think for the red, instead of using the big red ball, I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use the large marble instead and see what happens with that. So I'm going to drop my large red marble in the paint and get paint all over it. And now I'm going to take it out, drop it in the can, put the lid on, rattle it around. Oh, now that fell out because I wasn't holding the lid very well. So back in it goes. All right, time to take the marble out. I'm putting it back in the red paint. And now it's time for me to take my paper out and we'll see the results. And I absolutely love this method for young children. I hope you enjoyed the marble painting activity. Be sure to stick around in another week when I have another tempera painting art activity to show you. That's all for now. Bye.